And next up, excited to welcome on stage some outside pharma consumer experience experts, because of course, it is excellent to learn from what other industries are doing well. So we're going to hear from Richard Schwartz, Chief Experience Officer of RX for CX, about engaging and empowering customers with winning strategies. And I will let you introduce your other panelists.
Sure thing. Come on up. Let's get busy. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Thanks for having me. All right. Outside of pharma, none of you have any scars. You're not trembling. You don't have a 1,000-yard stare. But how about you introduce yourselves? And we'll start down at the end with you, Andy.
Yeah, hi, Andy Kraut, and online dating isn't without its traumatic parts as well. But for anyone who doesn't know, I work at Grindr, the largest gay dating platform in the most countries around the world, 190. And I'm excited to be here today.
Sangeetha?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Sangeetha Rai. I have transformed customer experience in multiple industries, HR tech, fintech, and insurtech. Most recently, I was at Northwestern Mutual. Right now, I'm just consulting and advising different industries on customer experience, and I'm happy to be here.
I'm Geoff Cook. I'm actually only 20 minutes from here in Princeton. I'm the CEO of Noom. Spent 18 years prior to this building out social dating, live streaming experiences. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. And I'm Richard Schwartz. I focus specifically on customer experience, HCP, patient, and caregiver. So I appreciated that very much, the last presentation for life sciences companies. But I'm thrilled to have you all here because you've all created dynamic experiences. What is it that you do uniquely that brings people back weekly, daily, hourly inside of your platforms? And Andy, we can start with you, but please we'll work down the line.
Sure, yeah. So I think I do want to take all the credit for Grindr and how successful it is. So thank you for that. I'll say that the team is very good at what they do, but the community is actually the reason why people keep coming back and engaging. As a gay man trying to find another gay man for whatever reason, you need all the tools in your tool belt that you can. 6% of the world finding the other 6% of the world is a daunting task sometimes. So I'd say that kind of business problem that we're solving at the top is one of the reasons that we have such high engagement, which is for every day a Grindr user uses us is over an hour a day, 14.5 million users every month. So we're a well-worn space, and also trying to be our user in our mentality of, as we develop features in the app, what are we solving for them? What are the things that they need? Now that we have this huge audience, what is next? So we've got romance, check. What about travel tips? What about commerce and keeping relevant to what the gay experience is so that we can continue to be the gayborhood in your pocket?
Sangeetha, you worked across
That's the line. That's not a joke. That's really what our text say.
All right. Sangeetha, please.
Yeah, so as I think about dynamic experiences, I think about repeated engagement. And it's not just people should come to you during crisis, but they should be coming to you during those quiet everyday moments as well. So at Northwestern Mutual, we looked at three things. One was tying it to progress and goals. So with our planning experience, we had people come in not just to look at the money, but also look at how they're making progress towards their goals. So it's not just a balance sheet, but it's also looking into their future. And then the second thing is building very intuitive products. So we had analytical tools in place that looks at where are our customers getting stuck, how can we nudge them, and we designed our products around that. And lastly, we had our planning and progress study that talked about what do our customers look for and how their mindsets are changing. And based on that, we were able to build our experiences, not just where we want them to be, but meet them where they're at.
So Geoff, on to you. And I think you wanted to explore not just where you are today, but where Noom is going. So please.
Yeah. So, there's a piece that published today in Quartz that asked, is Noom Duolingo for health? And that's really how we're thinking about Noom, as a place you go to make health a habit. And so the way I think about driving engagement, because Noom comes at it holistically, we think of it in terms of different dimensions of health and wellness. But I generally think in terms of engagement loops and viral loops, right? So there's certain activities. We have a loop around food tracking that is meant to keep you coming back every time you might want to log a healthy snack or a meal. Another around steps. We have a loop around steps, banking your steps for the day. We're working on a mood tool, and then we'll have a loop around mood in order to drive engagement around mood. And then there's a whole science of gamification. Noom's roots is in cognitive behavioral therapy and psychology. We're increasingly moving that towards gamification. So we're how do you blend micro incentives? How do you bring in social? And both of those things really are aimed at driving motivation, right? Like that's going to be what keeps you motivated, is seeing what your friends are doing, seeing what your family's doing, maybe that micro incentive that brings you in.
Fantastic. And I told you guys I'd go off script really quickly. You all kind of talked about reciprocity, which is kind of a biological imperative. It's how we survive. It's how we thrive. What is the reciprocity between you and the people that you're interacting with inside of your solutions? And Geoff, we could start with you. If you wanted to ponder that for a second, though, Andy's ready.
Am I?
Well, for Northwestern Mutual, I would say to reduce financial anxiety, right? Because you're actually looking at your goals, you're able to see where you're going, and you'll be able to make informed decisions by yourself and also with your trusted advisor.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I was listening to an audiobook, the Jonathan Haidt book, Happiness, and there's a whole chapter on reciprocity. I think as we think about like reciprocity with the customer or the patient, it's really delivering something in the moment that helps them. So I spent 18 years in live streaming, and what kind of got me into Noom was the ability to kind of take all the kind of cynical tools out of the social experience developers playbook and apply it to health. And so where instead of just trying to get a few more minutes from you in the app, we're actually trying to change your behavior in some kind of measurable way. So I think the reciprocity would probably come down to, are we actually doing, are we accomplishing that? Is the person actually moving more? Yeah. Do we adapt our experience to match them like where they are?
And we didn't rehearse that, but the same book triggered that question. Oh, is that right? So yeah, it's fantastic. Andy?
We kind of focus back to the mission of creating a world where the gay community can find itself and activate against itself. So when we talk about what we owe the users, we're always trying to ladder back up to that. There is now buttons you can push to bring it to the healthcare world in the app to get 2 free HIV tests delivered to you. And once we surveyed the audience, 40% of our user base said that was the first HIV test they ever took. So the kind of scratching our heads and thinking like, well, what else does this user base need, whether they are telling us they need it now or something that we can think of by using partnerships in various verticals and other spaces.
And we've heard about it with the technologies that we talked about today, that there is the Benjamin Buttons effect of them aging in reverse. They're getting smarter with use. So I think that was wonderful. Regulated industries. Are you regulated, Andy, in what you do, or are there?
Grindr is a publicly traded company. We work, so I think about this in terms of brand partnerships. That's my role at Grindr. And our number one vertical we work with is pharmaceutical industry. So working hand in hand with them on custom solutions that still fit within the rules and regulations that folks can adhere to is a big thing that we keep on as we innovate for our largest vertical. And then, of course, being secure with data and always being compliant. 190 countries is a lot of countries. It's most of them. So keeping up to date on those policies so that we can make sure to maintain our audience's trust and security.
It's not a free-for-all. Great. And you've worked in finance, which
Yes.
might be regulated a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. I worked in Northwestern Mutual, which is and LearnVest, which was a startup, which is a highly regulated space. So the way I think about it is that innovation requires speed, and compliance requires us to be a little bit more cautious. So I don't look at it as brakes, but it's kind of like a steering wheel. How do you think smart and work smart, right? So at Northwestern Mutual, we have modernized legacy platforms. It's a 165-year-old company. We've implemented AI. And we've also, reduced the friction between our customers and our advisors and our customer experience. The trick to that is a cross-functional infrastructure. So when generative AI first came out, what we did was we set up an AI council that included a team of leaders from product, compliance, infrastructure, engineering. And so once we put the use cases together, what this did was that everyone that needed to make a decision was right in the room. So it really helped us scale and accelerate the AI initiatives that we were working on.
So how do you handle things in a regulated world?
Yeah, so my last company that I took public was public, of course, but here I really try to make it so that it does not appear that the product was designed by lawyers, right? And that can be a challenge, right? Like how do you actually provide a good experience that keeps people coming back in a compliant way? We tend to err on the side of the user experience wherever possible.
Fantastic. So Sangeetha, you kind of broke the AI seal on the panel and opened us up for it. So I want to talk about it a little bit, but I want you to frame it in terms of authentic interactions. I don't want to just talk about the ones and zeros. I want to talk about the X's and O's, and how are you all thinking about using advanced technologies, large language models, using AI, generative AI, agentic AI, to enhance the experience and the outcomes?
I can go? Sure.
Well, I think when people think of AI in the dating space, they immediately think of the movie Her, which couldn't happen because Grindr is for gay men, so it'll be more like him. But there are ways that we can cleverly use this to get people to go back to our mission of having our community integrate with itself. So the average user on Grindr sends 50 messages every day they use Grindr, and they receive 50 messages. It's a lot of messages, and if you're hot like me, you get even more. So just imagine.
You're probably getting some right now.
Yeah. Oh my God. I left my phone at my chair if someone wants to check real quick. But how do we structure this using AI? How do we structure that inflow of attention in a way that is not as overwhelming as it might seem? So that's cut to our product launch from last month, where we made the A-list, where we kind of format all chats that have been more than 5 back and forths, where you can kind of have a summary, be like, this guy's a lawyer. You guys talked about making a dinner date. It's on you to respond. And now I don't have to do the scroll and look for myself. I can re-engage right quick with the folks that might want to be my future husband. I have a current husband, so don't.
But you never know.
But he's in Brooklyn, so.
What happens here stays here. So.
What happens at BMS stays at BMS, right?
Speaking of finance.
Okay, so the way I think about it is that, 3 things need AI. People in crisis, people who have questions, and people that don't have time. So questions that I would ask as we're thinking about generative AI or anything that's coming up in the future: 1, does that really enhance the customer experience? And 2, does it improve productivity of the employees? And 3, does it generate capacity to reinvest in other things? So at Northwestern Mutual, the medical approval process used to take about 60 days. And what we did was we implemented 2 years ago straight-through processing. And so, and because it used to take 60 days, it caused a lot of stress for our financial advisors as well as our consumers, and a lot of work for our corporate teams as well. And once we implemented straight-through processing, it was reduced now from 60 days to 3 days. And what this did was it helped convert people that were potential customers to customers quicker, and also the financial advisors could focus on other things. So tying it back to pharma, I think you have to ask, is it going to reduce the delays? Is it going to preserve the dignity, and is it going to increase our capacity?
Yeah, so I would say there's three ways we think of AI coming into Noom, and in terms of improving the experience. One is to make it easy, personalized, and then ultimately magical. And so kind of examples of each of those. On the easy side, people know Noom as like a food logger, or people who know Noom know it that way. And now you can just take a picture of your plate with your food, and it'll log all of your meals. So that's an example of kind of making it easier. Personalized, people also think of Noom as like coaching. And obviously, as we get like this glut of data on the person, like we can't, a coach can't make sense of it all unless there is an AI intermediating that and able to, so we have like this no empty boxes policy where no coach should ever be looking at an empty box, right? We should be taking, the coach should be modifying it and adding something, but take that, all that experience and, and tie it all together to make the right insight at the right moment. And then magical, of course, is harder. But like an example of that would be a body scan using your smartphone camera where you spin around wearing tight-fitting clothes and get it's like a digital DEXA where you get your lean mass, fat mass. We're working on one right now through a vendor that will look at the blood flow in your face and give you, and then inform a personalized health report.
Wow. And here, magical, I love that. And, here we sit at Bristol Myers Squibb inside of these companies are miracle factories. And you guys create things that change the course of disease and damage and illness and injury in the human body. And, there's the expression that we don't change when we see the light, we change when we feel the heat. And I think we change when we experience the magic. So I can't think of a better place to kind of wrap it up than on that. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And we do have time for a couple questions. All right, I do have one question for Andy. I've heard you talk about this a little bit in the past. I'd love for you to dig a little bit deeper. So your user base, is pretty diverse. Not everyone is necessarily out as a gay man within Grindr. Some people are still exploring their sexuality. So thinking about the different type of users, what are different types of tools you've built into the app to make those folks that still might be exploring and not yet comfortable being out feel secure when using your tool?
I was talking to somebody about this earlier during lunch, and it's almost like finding somebody with a condition. There's no like meeting point where everybody with a rare disease goes, and all agrees on the know-how rules, best case scenarios, how to handle it. And I'll say that like me coming out when I was 19, and literally I'm gagged every time a 17-year-old takes a same-sex partner to prom. I'm like, must be nice. That sounds great for you. But that's what I wanted. As the world gets more understanding and accepting of the LGBTQ community. Happy Pride, everybody, by the way. But I think it's important that if we're going to be the app for all gay people, that we do not force anyone to do anything they're not comfortable with. If you don't want to put on a profile picture because you're not there yet, that's fine. If you want to put your pronouns in, your HIV status, there's spaces to do all of that. Have you been vaccinated for monkeypox, meningitis? Feel free to tell everybody. Otherwise, it just won't show up on your profile. So adjusting to our user in a way that is actually how the variety pack of the entire alphabet might conduct themselves when on a digital platform. So I think we owe it to them to be first. We were the first to be able to say that you were cisgender or transgender in the app to give you a place to put that. Then we were the first to add a little question mark where if I'm someone viewing that as a person who's never heard the word trans before, I don't have to bother that user. I can click on this where I'm taken to an article that explains what being trans is. So we owe them those tools. We owe them those options to make their dating experience better, but we do not need to mandate it. We just want to make sure that everyone has the tools they need if they need them.
And that all comes down to trust, to building trust with your audience. And we're calling them users, which I said last time that there's a few industries that call their customers users, technology, SaaS platforms, pharma companies, and drug dealers. I think but we talked about them as humans and as people, and you built trust with them. I think that's beautiful.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And now everyone is